Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Rescue World podcast, formerly known as A Different Cloth. I am Jose Rodriguez, founder and CEO of Rescue Generation. So excited you are locked in and tuned in for today. Today's conversation is going to be an awesome one. If you are interested in growth, if you're interested in going to another level in your life, I have a secret that is going to help you excel in all the things that you endeavor to do, particularly in how you are reaching the students God's called you to. All season long, we've been talking about our secret sauce. And one of the ways that we came up with what our secret sauce was we went through a workshop that talked about marketing. And I remember I think it was a vision, values, and voice workshop. And so what happened was they looked at our mission statement, our vision statement, our value, our core values as an organization, and then the voice that we have online, how we present ourselves to the world, whether we're talking to students, to youth workers like you, whether we're talking to educators, adults, like business owners, and really, what personality should we show up with online, our online presence, our newsletters, the whole nine yards. Really, really dope workshop. In fact, let me just shout out Legible. Incredible company to work with. If you are a do-gooder, is what they call it, do-gooders, those who are actually out there doing a great work in the community that you're serving in, and you just need some help with some branding, some messaging, maybe some logos, graphics, websites. But even beyond that, you just need to know, how do I actually hit my audience online? Legible is the place to go. So this conversation is all about feedback. And one of the ways that we got to here was we went through this vision, values, and voice session, 2 sessions with Legible. And we got a lot of feedback from Legible. And I remember we were in there. And look, y'all, if you follow us online, man, you know, we do our best to put out some dope content, right? That's been the case since the very beginning. Even before we had all the camera in the studio, we knew that this generation that we're working with is what a guy named Ron Luce coined as a sight and sound generation. In other words, they don't just need to hear it, they need to see it and hear it. So visuals always mattered. So I remember from day one here at Rescue Generation, I've always been big on getting cameras to show up. Let's capture footage. And let's make it high quality so that, because visual content really does matter, especially to this generation. Well, we were working through this with Legible, and they looked at our content and they gave us a lot of feedback. And the feedback wasn't, wow, that stuff is really dope. It wasn't like, hey, you guys are crushing it. The feedback was way more along the lines of, yeah, your messaging kind of seems all over the place. We don't know who you're trying to talk to. We don't know who your target audience is. We don't know who you're trying to communicate things to. It looks like you're doing it for students, but then you're trying to communicate to adults, but then you're trying to reach adults, and you sound like you're trying to communicate to students when you try to reach adults. And y'all, we needed that feedback. In fact, that feedback, I would say, helped us to really hone in on what message are we sending out to the students we serve, to the schools we serve, to the youth workers we partner with, and to those that are really rescuing their generation all around them. And so feedback has been a huge part of this process for us. And I will just say this: if you are not a person that is used to feedback or familiar with feedback, it does not feel good sometimes. Unless you're a junkie, and I think I'm probably a little bit on that line where I'm like, yo, give me the feedback. I want to hear it all. Just you could tell me the worst thing, and I'm like, wow, thanks for saying that. Even if I'm in my head about it, I want to know. I don't like the unknown, so I just want to know. So is it working? Is it not working? Is it good? Is it bad? How do you like it? How are you experiencing? I want the feedback. I'm that type of dude. Well, starting Rescue Generation, we started to build something really cool here. And man, we thought we were crushing it until we got some feedback from Legible. Okay, Legible, what they did was they turned our our core values, which, as we've been talking about all season long, was communication leads to conversations, which leads to trust, which leads to relational equity, which leads to results. They gave us feedback about our core values. And here's what they said. They said, well, those are not actually core values. Those are way more of your secret sauce. That's your process by which you walk with students in and why you're so effective. They were like, you could go do workshops on this. You could do podcasts on this. Like this is gold that you're sitting on here, and you don't really know what you have or what you've created. And I thought, wow, that's really valuable. What a powerful use of feedback. It wasn't negative criticism. They did tell us that what we were doing was not being utilized to the best of its ability. So they gave some honest feedback. But then they helped us. They helped us package this in such a way that now we do trainings around this, that now we train our staff on how to walk through each of these words that lead to one another and how we're going to be effective on the campus. So feedback has honestly like changed the game for us. Now, I want to say this. My first experience of feedback, when I would say I started to really call it feedback, because prior to that, I just wanted to know how people felt about things, and I wasn't calling it feedback. My first experience of feedback was out of a training, and we had Nathan on here this season, and Nathan was the one that gave me some feedback. And everybody was giving me this feedback, and it all was like all good and positive, and you're awesome, and you're amazing, and you're a leader, and you're cool, and you're passionate, and you care, and all of these things. It was like, oh, cool. But honestly, y'all, I was getting mad at that feedback because I felt like people weren't being honest with me. Like, have you ever had somebody just gas you up so much that you're like, all right, bro, what do you want from me? Like, because surely you don't really know me, or you're only saying this because you want to get something out of it. So I started feeling that way. I was getting pretty frustrated, and then along comes Nathan, and he shares this feedback with me that I shared on another episode. You can go back and watch that with Nate Dogg. And man, that feedback rocked me. It rocked me. I felt like I got punched in my chest. And then after that training, I remember I said this also in another episode here. Don't worry, we're gonna go somewhere with this. But after that training, another guy came up to me and gave me unsolicited feedback. And he said, I actually never thought you were gonna rescue a generation. He said, I just thought you were gonna reach a lot of kids. And look, if I'm honest, y'all, I could have punched him. I could have just squared up with dude and, just let it be what it is and ask for forgiveness later. But I was just in a training about feedback. And so I just took the feedback and I did what they have kind of like walked with us through. I tried it on. I said, okay, let me not get defensive over this feedback. Let me just try it on. Let me see if this fits. Does this land here? Another way to ask this, is this true? Could this be true? If it could be true, how could it be true? Okay, so I started to play with that idea. And as much as I hated what he said, he wasn't wrong. The trajectory we were on was just going to reach a lot of kids because we lost sight of transformation being what we were all about. You see, we grew so fast that it just was, there was so much that we were trying to figure out. And because we grew so fast, we lost the essence of really why we started this in the first place. That one strong, harsh piece of feedback shifted, I would say, my commitment to this is really about rescue a generation, and it's really about transformation, and we won't budge from there. Now, if you know me, I get excited about things, and I got excited. I was like, wow, my light bulb is turned on now, and I'm going to go back, and man, I can't wait to bring this back to our staff. That was my initial thought. And I bring it back to our staff, and I kid you not, I felt like my experience of our team was they were kicking and screaming. They did not like it. They didn't like who presented it. They didn't like where it came from. They thought it was weird and kooky. They thought it was cultish. They was like, no. This ain't healthy, like all of it. And there was all these like kind of sub conversations that came from us being introduced to feedback. And one of the things that I'll say is when you believe in something and the potential it has to really take you to another level, no matter the opposition you face, you stay true to what you believe. And I believed that feedback was going to help us be better. Feedback was actually going to help us to rescue a generation. And I stayed committed. I was like, it didn't feel good. I wasn't popular all the time. People didn't always like my approach to how we were doing things, but I stayed committed. And so for the last 2 years, y'all, our team has been baptized in feedback. And if I'm honest, to see where we are now to where we were 2 years ago, drastically different. I mean, like the willingness to give feedback to each other, the willingness to receive it and not get defensive over it, like the willingness to grow from the feedback that's given, like help me feed this, help me understand this. And so I want to say this. I want to say a couple of things about feedback that I think is just going to help us process this. If you're a youth worker out there, you might be like, man, why are we talking about feedback? Why do I need feedback? Well, you need feedback if you want to be effective. Okay. This is a good question if you're wondering how you're doing as a youth pastor, as a a youth worker. Is it working? Like, is it? Are students coming? Are they growing? Are they getting healthy? Is the gospel being shared? Are they saying yes to Jesus? Are they plugged into small groups? And if it's not working, there's a good chance that's feedback for you. Okay, so feedback is all around us. We just got to choose to look at it. So my first thought is that feedback is all around us. We just have to choose to look at it. So I've been doing ministry this way for the last year, and I would ask you, what are the results of the way you've been doing ministry? What are you seeing differently? How many students are coming? And it's not only a numbers game, but like data doesn't lie either. Okay, so the more open you are to exploring it, like I could say all day, I love my wife, but if she experiences my love when I'm doing the dishes and I don't do the dishes, then there's feedback around me not loving her well. Okay, like so again, like data says like it's all around us. Like feedback, you got something in your teeth. Like, well, do you or do you not? Like, and do you want to know it if you do? Like, so there's all types of evidence of feedback around us. So feedback of me being unhealthy would be that I'm gaining weight, not losing weight. That's just feedback, y'all. It's the evidence of what I'm doing is either working or it's not working. And where I would say that the harder part is it's not only getting or learning or looking at the feedback, it's actually being open to the feedback. It's actually like, wow, that's actually true. I am not getting healthier and I need to go in the other direction. And okay, I'll take that feedback. What do I do with that feedback? So the first thing is this: feedback is all around you. You just got to be willing to look and examine the results of what you're doing. The second thought about feedback is and this was a kind of a new one for us to try on, but that feedback was always neutral. Okay, like when you ask a room full of people how they take feedback or what they think about feedback, most of them are going to go to criticism. Some people will even use constructive criticism as a form of that's okay, but criticism is not okay. And most of the time, it's given some type of a negative connotation. It's like, well, people have permission to be honest about me. People are now sharing how they feel. They're giving me their feedback. And I would just say, if you was to try on the thought that feedback is neutral, it's not positive or it's not negative, what determines if feedback is positive or negative is actually what you do with it. So, for example, you could tell me I have a booger in my nose if we were to meet in person. And I could interpret that as negative feedback. How dare you talk to me like that? You don't even know me like that. No, you should never say nothing like that to me. And you could tell me I have a booger in my nose if I ever saw you in person. And I could interpret that as, wow, thank you for caring enough about me to be honest. Wow, thank you for actually sharing that so I can go and change it and to get it fixed. Like, so if you think about it that way, somebody saying, here's a more taboo one. Maybe here's a more taboo one. Somebody saying you gained weight. Okay. Now, if somebody was to tell you gained weight, there's a good chance you're going to get defensive over that because weight is a touchy subject, right? And is it true? Have you gained weight? And then how do you interpret them saying that? Was that them saying that out of a form of care? And like, hey, you've gained weight. Like, I'm actually a little concerned about you. Or do they say, like, yo, you've gained weight. What's wrong with you? Like, and so really the question is, how do you interpret what's being said? That's what ultimately determines whether it's positive or negative. Feedback is neutral, okay? It's neutral. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people that can say some pretty, pretty hateful things. And I would say if you could keep a level head and still think that even in the middle of hatred, feedback is neutral, it would help you to respond way better to those parents that are complaining about their students being in your youth group. It would help you respond way better to your senior pastor who's just coming at you for X, Y, and Z reason. You would respond drastically different if you just had this idea that feedback is neutral. So even somebody coming up really angry at me saying, Jose, you are not a good leader. You did not do this right. I could get really defensive because they're angry, because they're not coming at me correctly. Or I could try on the feedback as neutral and say, okay, I hear what they're saying. What part of that is feedback for me that I can go and examine to see, is it true or is it not true? And if it is true, where else could it play out? So the first thing is that feedback is all around us all the time. The second thing is that ultimately feedback is neutral. It's not positive. It's not negative. Now, the third thing about feedback that I love is you actually can't go to the next level without feedback. Like, you actually cannot become who you are called to be fully without feedback. This is why jobs have assessments. They have reviews. They have year reviews. They have quarterly reviews, because feedback is necessary in order for us to get to the place God is calling us to go. And so my question for you is, how open are you to feedback? And when was the last time you actually sought it out? When was the last time you actually pursued it? Now, there's a good chance that you hearing this could empower you or enable you to be the distributor of all feedback. Oh, you know what? This is so good. Feedback is neutral. Feedback is necessary for growth and evolution and next level. And feedback is a gift. Feedback is caring. I'm gonna go share this with everybody I can, and not the podcast. I'm gonna go share my feedback with everybody I can. And I would caution you to use feedback the opposite way, to actually go and seek out feedback about how you're doing and not be the distributor of all feedback. Because truth is, when you are the distributor of all feedback, most people don't know how to receive feedback and they don't know how to process it correctly. You're going to make a lot of people really mad for no reason. And they probably didn't hear this podcast like you are. So there's probably don't even know what to do with feedback. Now, for you, this would be a really good way for you to go and get feedback. Hey, how am I doing? How is this job going? How is our youth ministry going? Students, what do you think about me? How am I doing as your pastor? How present am I for you? How do you like my messages? How do you not like my messages? Like, there's all types of questions that you can ask in order to gain a really, really, really solid feedback to help you go to the next level. And here's my question for you. Do you want to go to another level? Like, are you actually interested in growing? If so, feedback is necessary. So I want to end our time a little bit with 3 different questions you can ask anybody in order to get some feedback about yourself. Because chances are, if you go tell someone, hey, give me feedback, they might be like, well, what do you want me to share with you? How do you want me to? So I'm going to help you package this a little bit, okay? Here's the three questions. First one is this. Hey, what am I currently doing that you like? What am I currently doing that you like? You're like, hey, you should keep doing that. Like, whatever that is, keep on going for that. Okay. Now, maybe you ask somebody that and they're like, well, oh man, I don't know. I actually don't know. Well, guess what, guys? That's feedback too. Like, that's just something to notice. Maybe they don't know because you haven't done something they liked. Maybe they don't know because you haven't showed up in a certain way and they haven't paid attention to what you're doing. And so again, that's feedback as well. So first question is, what am I doing that you like? Here's the second question. Second one is, what am I currently doing that you want me to do more of? Like, what do you need more of from me? What are you seeing about my life that you just like, oh, I wish you would just do more of that. Okay. Like, look, if you're married out there, I dare you to ask these to your spouse. I double dog dare you to like lean in and get some feedback. What am I doing currently that you like? And the second one is, what am I doing that you would love to see more of? Here's the third one, and this is probably my favorite one. What am I doing that you think I should stop doing because it's not serving me well? What am I doing that you think I should stop doing because it's not serving me well? Look, here's the reality. Feedback is a little taboo because we don't like to hear the truth about ourselves. We don't like sometimes for people to be honest, and we would prefer for them to lie. I've actually asked this question in a room full of people, and I said, hey, who wants to be lied to? And it's literally hilarious that people will literally raise their hand and say, I want to be lied to, because a lie sometimes is way easier to receive than the truth, because sometimes truth hurts. And so as you are looking to grow, to go to another level, we need to be willing to not settle for the lie that'll tickle our ears and make us feel good, but to lean into the truth that could help us grow, become better, become more about who God is calling us to be. And with that being said, I want to just present this thought to you, that when somebody gives you feedback, no matter how it comes, that all feedback is a gift, because they don't have to share with you how they feel. They don't have to share their thoughts. They don't have to share what they think you're doing good or bad or not. All feedback is a gift. Those Yelp reviews about you and your church is a gift. Those comments on social media about what you do or did do, those subs that are being thrown at you, it's a gift. All feedback is a gift. Now, I'm not telling you you got to go believe everything that's said about you, but I am telling you, you will grow so much if you didn't just dismiss every ounce of feedback that comes your way because they don't feel good, or they're just being haters, or they just don't understand. All feedback is a gift. Now, I'm coaching a restaurant company, some co-owners right now, and we just went through 4 weeks of feedback where each one of them was in a hot seat. And in the hot seat, they all had to answer those 3 questions that I just shared with you. And today I was able to process, like, after we've done like all of the feedback, now all 4 of you were able to receive feedback. What was your biggest takeaway? Like, what's the biggest thing you got out of this? Number one, all of them said, this took the shame out of what we've been feeling other people were thinking about us. It was like so much of what was said, whether it be what you should keep doing or what you should stop doing, we were already thinking and perceiving that, but shame just kept it in our head. We weren't actually talking about it. So once other people affirmed it or confirmed it, it took the shame out of it. So number one, your real feedback can actually remove the shame of what's happening and living rent free up here. The second thing that they took away was, like, one of the guys, it was cool at the very end. He was like, yo, my takeaway is that we did this. Like, that we can actually be honest with each other, that we can actually share, and we all still feel like we care. Like, we're all still in this together. Look, feedback does not have to ruin relationships. Feedback is a gift. And I watched 4 business owners co-owners of a business spend 4 weeks giving some pretty brutally honest feedback and come out of it better, stronger, more willing to show up individually and collectively, and more willing to fight for those that are in the business with them. I've watched feedback excel companies, and I've watched the resistance to feedback destroy companies. How are you perceiving feedback? If you want to grow, if you want to go to another level, I would highly admonish you to try on what we did here at Rescue Generation and invite feedback. So ultimately, you can know if it's working or if it's not. You can be better at rescuing the generation God has called you to rescue, and you can do more good work by understanding feedback is a gift. We're in the best season we've ever been in at Rescue Generation. We are leaning into the greatest school campus season, and I am telling you, this is a direct result of us being willing to listen to feedback. And so I challenge you, go find 3 people in your closest circle, ask them those 3 questions about you, maybe be willing to share your answers to them about them, and let's just see what happens amongst you and your relationships as you embrace this concept of feedback. Look, it's helped us grow tremendously. I thoroughly trust it'll help you, your ministries, your organizations, your businesses grow. Feedback is a gift, and looking forward to talking more about this with some of our guests this season. If you have any questions, subscribe, ask questions, comment, DM us, whatever. We'd be happy to help answer whatever we can answer, and looking forward to continuing this journey with you. We'll see y'all next time.